Hello, everybody. This is our Young Theosophist gathering. We begin now. It's the beginning of the first day, and today we will have this wonderful speaker and a young Theosophist, Janne Vuononvirta, who will start our program. So, dear Janne, the floor is all yours.
Okay. Thank you, Merike, for inviting me to give this talk and another one tomorrow. Sometimes, like, preparing talks is quite easy. You just make the notes and talk it through. This talk wasn't one of those. So our topic during the gathering is from inner to outer peace, and it's a huge topic currently in so many ways. And I felt a little bit overwhelmed where to start from. So my topic this morning is the world in turmoil, a theosophical view. And I just want to point out that it's not the view, only a view. So only mine. Things that came up to me when I was in the process of preparing the talk. And after this talk, we have time together to discuss what you have in your mind. And also later tomorrow, we have a full workshop where we can continue the discussion. So I'm not trying to give the answer. Instead, my point is just to evoke some thoughts. If you read the news currently, it's quite difficult not to worry about the situations that are going on in the world. In some ways, the global situation around the world seems to be like more turbulent than in decades. We have a war here in Europe between Ukraine and Russia that has lasted now for more than 4 years. In the Middle East, there's no lasting peace. Like there's a new war between US and Iran going on. The tension between big countries like US and China and some others seems to be the tension is rising. Also, democracy is in crisis in some ways. We have the populism is rising. It's not the people who have the wisest or the smartest ideas that are being heard. Instead, it's the people who are the loudest, who have the most money, who are the most influential for instance, in social media. They have most power, and whatever lies they tell, it doesn't matter anymore. We are living in an epoch called post-truth. So no matter what lie you tell, the more you repeat it, the more powerful it gets. And as long as it serves your purposes, you can say whatever. So this is the world where we are living in currently. Meanwhile, our climate is changing rapidly. The weather is getting hotter and hotter around the world. Also, the nature is suffering all around world, biodiversity is decaying. So we have huge issues, and it seems that our nations currently are not doing enough for the environment. So instead, we are in the struggle, like between the nations. And even though the world is huge, we have um, it seems that this world is getting smaller. And like when people lived 100 years ago, if there was a war, like in a different continent, between different countries, you didn't know, like you didn't have any knowledge about it. You didn't get any information, and it didn't affect your life that much. People elsewhere were having their fight. But today, it's different. Somehow we are more interconnected all around the world. And as a good example is this our gathering on peace. So because we have a war in Iran, the fuel and flight prices have risen, and therefore many people who would have liked to come here couldn't do that. So even our gathering on peace is affected by the war. To me, that feels like irony. Um, so if you take a look at some roots of the crisis, in the general global crisis, and especially the climate issues, maybe the biggest reason is that 100 years ago we were about 1 billion people. Now we are almost 8 billion people. So 8 billion people use a lot more resources than 1 billion people. But also the way we use the resources. So on the individual level, one person today uses a lot more planetary resources than one person did 100 years ago. So we are consuming more and more, and every year we are celebrating the how it's called, the consuming day, when you have consumed all the planetary resources for 1 year, and it's usually it's not it's not at the end of the year, but usually we have like we in a way we have a planetary budget. We have a certain amount of resources, and we are overusing our budget every year. So usually we have spent all the resources that we have for 1 year already in spring. Also, we have some like idea that may not be like helping us in the current situation. And one of them is the illusion of never-ending growth. There has been this capitalistic idea that the more growth, the more well-being, the more economical background, the more money we have, the better we are doing. And at some level, that seems to be like working when people are very, very poor and they get more economical resources, their well-being gets better. But at some point, the more money doesn't give us more well-being. And the difficulty with our bigger and bigger population is that the resources are limited, and therefore there can be no like never-ending growth on the material level. About 20 years ago, I had a quite an interesting dream that I would like to share with you. In that dream, I was up in the air. There were many other people as well, my mother included, and we were watching above how there was a river where it was a huge river and many flagships were like fighting against one another. So they were like shooting at one another, and they didn't know where the current was taking them. But from the above, you could see the direction where the river was taking, and there was a terrible waterfall ahead. So if the flagship followed that current, all the flagship would fall into that waterfall. It looked like in that dream, it looked like the Niagara Falls in US. And from above, me and other people, we were yelling to the flagships that, "Stop, don't you see that you are going in the wrong direction? You need to stop." In that dream, there was we could see that if the ships went backwards, there would have been another current, another riverbed to follow. But in order to go there to the safe path, the battle needs to end. The flagship should have gone backwards and take this other road. But no matter how much we yelled, the flagship ships, they didn't hear us. Well, to me, it's quite obvious. The flagships presents the nations of the world. They are engaged in a battle for survival. Sometimes it's a literal war, but more often the battle is like economical battle, trying to get more and more wealth, try to keep the materialistic lifestyle on. And the waterfall, to me, it presents the climate, and the nations are aware of the problem, but so far everything that we have done seems to be like it's not enough so far. There seems to be always something more important, mostly economical things. The politicians are unwilling to do to make decisions that would affect their political career. The next election is always coming, and we delay and delay, and the problems get worse and worse, and it's more difficult to do something about them. Well, the nations are made of individuals, and if you look at on the individual level, changing our habits, changing our lifestyle, it's not easy for us. So if you consider us a person who smokes tobacco, the smoker knows that it's not healthy. But still he keeps smoking, and it feels it's not very motivating to make the actual change, because all the health costs, if you are, let's say you are in your 20s, you don't feel that your health is decaying, but health costs are waiting you in the future. So it's not like here that you get when you smoke is there. Also, you can feel the nervousness often caused by the smoking, and it's more like vital in the present moment to ease those unpleasant sensations by smoking. And uh, I guess neither of us is a smoker, but we all have similar biases. Like we can eat too much. Um, we say that we want to spend time with our loved ones, but when we are with them, we tend to do something else. For instance, we have our phone in front of us instead of spending time with our family members. And as a spiritual practitioners, we would like to deepen our practice, read more, meditate more, do more like theosophical or other voluntary work. But often we say to ourselves, like, I can do that tomorrow. Now it's not a good time. I have some more, like I have bigger issues going on. So I keep delaying and delaying, and years pass. And then I notice that I'm already getting old, and you lost your chance, and you can't get it back. And as individuals, that is our conditioning. We are ruled by our habits, desires, our ways of thinking. We are all products of our history. There's this karmic cycle that is repeating itself from moment to moment, from day to day, and from a lifetime to lifetimes. And so whatever we do in the present moment, it always has like consequences, meaning that the way we think, the things that we do, the things we say, they build up like ways of thinking. They build up our habits, and if we would like to change how we are, we would need to start changing our thinking and behavior. And nations are only like groups of people, big groups of people, and they are bound by the same law. Nations are ruled by the collective karma of the nation, and whatever leaders we get, that's the leaders that we deserve in every nation. And also the leaders repeat the same mistakes until they learn. In one book, Anja Besant pictures the evolution of humankind, that there is a road circling a mountain, and very slowly the humanity is getting a little bit higher and higher and higher. Like when we circle the mountain, like we always get to see the same scenery. So if our face is facing to the north, there's the same scenery, even though the cycle rotates. But it's always from a bit, slightly higher point. So the history seemingly repeats itself, but it's never the same. It's always a little bit higher point. So, but that raises a question: where are we going to? And in the Blavatsky's secret doctrine, the future of it speaks about a lot longer history of the humanity than our science knows today. According to the teachings, that this earth that we are living own currently has seen like many birds. It has lived many lives and it has died several times. There has been several civilizations before ours. How continents have drifted, how races have lived their lives and disappeared. And I can't help thinking that maybe something similar changes are going on right now. And it is said in theosophical texts that the sixth root race will begin about 500 years. And currently we are living in the fifth. And there is this change in the evolution of humankind that is already happening because the change doesn't happen like the one civilization doesn't end like today and then the next one start, but the change is simultaneously. So the sixth root race is in a way it's already like building up, and maybe the fifth race where we are living in currently has already seen its golden period. So in every cycle that humanity takes, there are some, we can say that there are some learning tasks for the people, and the purpose of the fifth root race is to learn our intellect, our manas, to learn how to think. And what we can see today is that it's called that the people are becoming from members of a group to independent thinkers. So in a way, many people still they are not thinking by themselves. They think in a way it's people think in their tribe. The tribe can be anything. So it can be your family, it can be your nation, it can be the people in your profession, the people in your religion, the people in your cult. So and you're not really thinking with your own brain. Instead, you are just like taking in what other people think and repeat that in your own life. We are in alignment with the group. And one mission of the fifth race could be to develop the individual thinking, that which means that we need to learn to be by ourselves. We need to learn to make like independent choices. Sometimes it's necessary to take distance from the group that we belonged to. For instance, if we follow some religion, it might be necessary to take some distance from that for now. But what's coming in the future is that independent individuals can come together again. So that in the previously these people who were only like learning how to think, they needed to they needed to become separate from the group. But now they are coming back to other people, and now as more developed individuals, bringing their unique experience for the benefit of the larger group. Some say that the Sikh root race will begin in California. Maybe that's true. We can see that a lot of that people from all around the world gather, especially to US, especially to California. So there's definitely a lot of mixing of uh, people happening at the moment. But I think the change is not local. I believe that the similar changes are going around all around the world, and um, there can be some hotspots. Like California may be one hotspot where the evolution is like more faster than elsewhere. But I'm sure there are hotspots elsewhere as well. And maybe this connectedness of the people on Earth uh, uh, of the world becoming more global is like early sign of this new era where six root race is coming and starting to work together. But for us, it's good to understand that the progress doesn't happen in a straight line. That we start from here and get over there, but there's a lot of like uh, pro, rapid progress and then a downfall and then a progress and then very slow progress. So we take one step, we take two steps forward, one step backward. So the evolution doesn't happen in a straight line. So what's the role of the Theosophical Society in relation to these global events? There is an old letter that is called the Mahachohan letter. It's sometimes called the foundational stone of the Theosophical Society. You may have heard about Theosophical masters or masters of the wisdom, and some of them sent letters to some Western people, also to some Indian people, but especially A.B. Sinet got a lot of letters from a master called Kuthumi. And this letter was actually, Mahasohan was the master of the masters. So he was well, at least one of the masters of Kuthumi and Master M. And this letter is not actually written by the Mahachohan, but the text that was received by A.B. Sinet was a note by Kuthumi that the master had done while based on the talk by Mahachohan. Yeah, so the letter is almost 150 years old, but in many ways it feels still quite strikingly relevant today. And in that letter, the Mahachohan evaluates the mental state of the humanity back then. And he also points to a road ahead. And this is a quote from the letter. The intellectual portion of mankind seems to be fast dividing into two classes. The one unconsciously preparing itself for the worst spiritual catastrophe, and the other being prepared for it. Between degrading superstition and still more degrading brutal materialism, the white doe of truth has hardly room where to rest her weary, unwelcome foot. So when Theosophical Society was formed, the religious world, at least in the West, was changing. So previously, the churches had a lot of power, but now people, especially educated people, were thinking that there's no God, there's no like spirit, and they were like in favor for materialism. So there is like pendulum moving from superstition, meaning dogmatic religion, and now it has shifted to the other extreme toward materialism. And since that, we can see that the process has only gone into the similar direction. The role of the religion has weakened in many ways. Less and less people, at least in Finland, even 20 years ago, like maybe 80% of the Finnish people belonged to the church. I don't know the exact numbers. These are just the estimates. And now only like 60% of the people belong to the church. And even the people who belong to the church, they don't really believe in the teachings of the world, of the church. Instead, the thinking of people is very secular, and what have maybe like people today they don't have very philosophical materialistic mindset, uh, but our like daily life is filled with things that I associate with the materialistic lifestyle. That brings us a lot of noise into our life. So we have a lot of screens that we spend our time with, and there's a lot of external distraction all the time around us. It's very difficult to turn our to shift our awareness from the outer experience to inner experience. And neither of the extreme provides the conditions in which human soul could proceed spiritually. So the door of truth has no place. And when I think the current world, the door of truth has very little landing space even today. So not much has changed. There's another quote. In view of the ever-increasing triumph and at the same time misuse of free thought and liberty, the universal reign of Satan, Eliphas Levi would have called it, how is the competitive natural instinct of man to be restrained from inflicting hitherto unheard of cruelties and enormities, tyranny, injustice, etc., if not through the soothing influence of a brotherhood and of the practical application of Buddha's esoteric doctrines? The universal reign of Satan, that is in us. It's the ego in us that sees itself beyond of everything as a separate entity. And it thinks that laws are for other people, not for me. And our ego has this narcissistic tendency to think only itself. And actually, our current culture is emphasizing our ego even more and more. And social media is just one example that puts us to focus more how we look on my experience, and at the same time, some psychologists that have studied the subject say that our how we, for example, how we educate our children, we accidentally end up building more narcissistic tendencies in our children, and also adults are behaving in ways that some decades ago these trends would have been, these ways of behavior would have been called narcissistic. And if I go a little bit backwards, the master points us that when we forget the rest of the group, when we forget the wholeness that we are part of, we may up ending acting in ways that are harmful for other beings. And well, this letter was written in 1881, and every time I read this, I just keep thinking about what happened during the Second World War. So a lot of people were not only killed, but they were tortured, and millions of people were tortured and destroyed. And now, at least in Finland, some theosophists speaks about a 100-year cycle, that history may repeat itself in a cycle of 100 years. I'm not sure. I haven't found any quotes on that from the English books, but I hope that our species have evolved a bit so that we don't repeat the same mistakes. I think in Europe we have done a lot of we have progressed a lot, like especially Germany, where Nazis did terrible things. They have gone through their history very well, and they behave in a way that now they have dealt with their history in a very honest way. So I think that prevents bad things to happen, at least in Germany. But still, we can see that some populistic parties in Germany are like rising up. But even worse situation is in Russia. So Russia has on a political level, in Russia, they have never dealt with their own history. So what happened in there when communism started, and millions of people were sent to their death, and so they have just they have wanted to forget that, and now we can see that in a way there's this way of thinking is like maybe one of the reasons why they are having the war currently in Ukraine as well. And now it's time that Theosophy should enter the arena. No pressure. The Theosophical Society was chosen as a cornerstone, the foundation of the future religion of humanity, to achieve the proposed object of a creator, wiser, and especially more benevolent intermingling of the high and the low, of the alpha and the omega of society was determined upon. I translated this text into Finnish, and it was a lot of work because the language is well, it's very beautiful language, but it's quite complicated at the same time. So if you haven't studied the Mahachohan letter, I would recommend for you to take some time to sit with it. And it's good to think through because there are very good ideas in it. But yeah, so the Theosophical Society was chosen as the cornerstone, the foundation of the future religion of humanity. Um, um, in the Mahatma letters, one word for theosophy is the brotherhood of humanity. Dalai Lama says the same thing, that his uh, religion is kindness. It's not Buddhism, but kindness. Early in the letter, the master said that we need to put into practice Buddha's esoteric doctrines. Meaning especially that whatever we do, we need try to express this oneness of humanity in our actions and thinking. This is a quote from Key to Theosophy. It is an occult law, moreover, that no man can rise superior to his individual failings without lifting, be it ever so little, the whole body of which he is an integral part. In the same way, no one can sin nor suffer the effects of sin alone. In reality, there's no such thing as separateness. So, by our own practice, we always affect the world around us. This also means that as long as we have our own inner conflict, we cannot bring peace to the world. As long as we are ignorant of our deepest nature, our mind stays attached to our outer personality. We cannot escape the circle of anger and desire, and we keep reading the same mistakes, repeating the same karmic cycle. So whatever we do, it never happens in a box or in an empty space. Whatever we do, it always affects the people around us. If we do something good and other people see it, we encourage people to do similar things. If we do bad things, we encourage people to do bad things. And if we neglect, if we don't do nothing, we encourage neglect in our society. So whatever we do, whatever we say, and whatever we think, someone is always touched by our actions. And as Theosophists, we are especially responsible for the thoughts that we send out into the world. Mahatma Gandhi said that be the change you wish to see in the world. And even though you have heard this so many times before, it's still true for us. So in order to help the world, we should find the peace in the inner self. We must find the peace within ourselves. And permanent peace can be only found by spiritual practice, because as long as we identify ourselves with our ego, with our personality, we are always touched by the things that affect on us personally. So if someone says something bad to us, we react. We may get angry and say something bad to that person in return. Sometimes we are able to keep our mouth shut, but our mind gets very dark and we are radiating like very um, angry or depressive thoughts around us. So by spiritual practice, we can learn that we are not our personality, but we can find a deeper center within us. That, for example, in the meditation, by meditation, we become more centered, and we can feel often when we meditate, we can feel that this is my true self. This is who I am. And what happens, like when I'm agitated, I'm starting to see that this agitation, these feelings, is not my true self, but it's something more deeper. Jesus taught us to turn the other cheek and to love our enemies. It's not very well practiced in the Christian world. Buddha taught the same, that whatever is done to you, we should respond from love, from compassion. I think this is possible only when we start to understand who we really are, and as long as we are attached on our personality, it's very difficult to put this into action. We think that we need to defend ourselves. If somebody says something bad to us, we think that we can't be hurt, but our true self, it can never be hurt. And our personality, our ego, it's never safe. No matter how much we fight for it, no matter how much we try to protect our ego, our personality, at some point it will always die. It doesn't last forever. Same thing happens on the political level. Currently, we are spending more and more money on guns, and we believe the more we have guns, and the bigger guns we have, the better, the safer we are. But is it really true? Are we more safe when we have stronger armies? Is there safety in the external world? Um, this one I actually already told you, so I move forward. So I don't believe that hatred ends with hatred. Instead, what needs to be done is to connect with people. We need to see that independently of whether I'm Ukrainian or Russian, on the inner level, I'm the same. I'm the same. So no matter where we live, there's more things that unite us, um, and only by seeing that oneness can we be like the world gets better. These are some figures that I found out about how much money we spend on military budgets. So last year, globally, we spent almost 3,000 billion US dollars on military budgets. And the number is growing pretty quickly. So during the past 10 years, the amount of money has grown 41%. And this is the biggest increase since the Cold War. Mm. So when we want to act for peace, we need to let go of hatred. It doesn't mean that whatever we accept the bad things that happened to the world. It doesn't mean that we allow people to hurt us. But to me, it means an inner state that internally I try to protect my soul from anger, from hatred, from not condemning people. It's very easy to say that, like in Finland, there's a lot of a long history of hatred against Russia. We have had our own wars. In Estonia, they have their own history with Russia, and for example, it's very easy. It would be very easy to say that Russia is a terrible country. I hate Russians, but that kind of mental atmosphere, it doesn't help us to go forward. So if we want to bring peace, can we understand that there's no other, that we are all only like the light in every being is the same light. We are just reflections from one light. When you read the news, you may get quite pessimistic, but it's good to see that also good things are happening in the world as well. The situation in the world is not entirely catastrophic, and there's a remarkable positive development going on. When we follow the media, it's worth to understand that media often focuses what is wrong. There's very little like good news in the daily newspapers. Actually, even though over the past few years the number of people who have been killed in wars has been increasing again. But actually, if you look with a longer perspective, it seems that the number of people killed in violent acts in wars has been like decreasing, and it has been actually less than ever before in human history. Also, the extreme poverty and hunger, even though we are more and more people on this earth, there are poor people, yes, but the extreme poverty is getting less. Uh, the There are lower child mortality rates, and we can see that renewable energy is growing rapidly, especially in China. China spends like every year China builds more solar power than Finland uses in a year. So in China, the progress is very, very fast in this respect. In my dream, I think all of us were there. We were yelling from above to the people and they were unable to hear us. That kind of helping may not be very effective. We cannot bring real change to the world from the outside. We must walk among the people. We must go on those flagships. We must accept the dangers and the troubles of the lives that await us when we are incarnated on those flagships. But our mission is that while we are here, we need to remember who we really are, that we are sparks of divine fire, of eternal light. And in order to help other people, we need to carry peace within us and radiate it outward. And I will end with a quote from Panchen Lama. This is from the Beijing edition of The Voice of the Silence. All beings desire liberation from misery. Seek, therefore, for the causes of misery and expound them. By entering the path, liberation from misery is attained. Exhort, then, all beings to enter the path. Thank you.
Now we have question and answer time. This was very lovely, very nice time. Thank you, Janne. I really enjoyed that you put those and
Yes. We start this discussion part now. So I'm just Hannes, can you? Merike was speaking for after me. So were you able to hear Merike's what Merike said?
Yes, I heard some of it, not everything.
Okay.
Okay, maybe you could come a little bit closer. So because I had a good mic, but I forget to my phone. So we only have mic on this computer, and if you have questions, I try to repeat them because Hannes is there with us online. And I have few questions for you as well, but I will show them at the end of the discussion part.
If we do not, sometimes some lecturer says that if we do not have questions, they will start asking us. So we will start asking questions to not be asked questions.
Yep. And I warned Merike and Mike yesterday that I'm trained in Socratic dialogue. Yes. So if you ask questions from me, I will give you more questions anyway.
What do you mean by that?
Yeah. So in Socratic dialogue, the way Socrates taught his pupils was not by giving lectures. That wasn't the way Socrates taught people. Instead, they had discussions, and Socrates was the one asking the questions from the pupil, from the student. And in this way, what happens is that the person, it's the person who gets the questions. So the student in this case, he needs to think with his own brain. And so not only he gets the answer that way, but he builds his thinking so that in the future, whenever he has a problem, he doesn't have to go to the teacher, oh, teacher, please help me, I have this problem, but he will be able to cope with these problems by himself. And this method is actually used also in cognitive therapy nowadays. It is one of the basic methods in psychotherapy.
And the purpose of fifth root race.
And it's the purpose of the fifth root race, as mentioned. Yes. Yeah. A lot of problems arise because our thinking is not like on the level that we would be required to solve the problems. I like Einstein's. There is a quote from Einstein that we cannot we cannot resolve the problems with the same thinking that caused them. So instead, we need to go a bit higher. But yeah, do you have some? It doesn't have to be a question. It can be like sharing. So what thoughts you have?
I do have a point of discussion. You mentioned Jesus and the Buddha. And Jesus, of course, said, turn the other cheek.
Yeah.
But you also said, I do not come to bring peace, I come with a sword. Buddha, of course, instructed all the monks to go out, and they could not be armed. So even in the jungle with dangerous animals and bandits, they could only practice loving kindness as a way of defense. But at the same time, you have the story about the Buddha throwing the thief into the river or the murderer or something as a way of compassion for the thief, that we would not kill and steal everybody and build up the karma.
Yep.
And so how do you reconcile these two things?
Yeah.
Point of discussion.
Yeah. It's a very good questions. So how to balance between like non-violence and setting boundaries. Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote something.
But apparently the Buddha thought it was okay for himself to take like a small charge of negative karma to help someone else. He would be bound a little longer to a lower existence, but he thought in exchange speeding up the redemption of the thief in the water was a good deal for both.
And if you say right now, I remember that, there's I don't remember exact story, but there's a bodhisattva in a ship, and there's a murderer, and he decides to murder the murderer help the others, because he says if the murderer goes on, he will make a bad karma for himself and make others like that. So he takes the bad karma by murdering, but by helping others.
also the murderer himself.
It reminds me, I think it was Augustinus who talked about the just war, like that you can sometimes have war for just cause or something. So it's I find it difficult. Like, can you go to war for a just reason to prevent something more bad?
It would seem that every enlightened being has some sort of a karmic budget for murder and violence. Of course, everyone thinks themselves more spiritually involved than they may actually be. So it would lend itself to people thinking,
So when you have collected a lot of good karma, you get this. You don't have to worry with the little things.
Have some other kind of
I think we need to be very careful when we set boundaries, and sometimes we need to do very harsh things. So they can be very harsh, like moments when actually even killing is necessarily. But the thing is, so when we are not yet, we are not that wise to differentiate when is the right moment to use violence. And as long as we don't have that wisdom, I think it's always better to choose like non-violent behavior. And I was thinking about the non-violent movements in history, like the Martin Luther King in US, and also Mahatma Gandhi in India. So actually, even though they didn't use violence to change the society, they needed to be very brave in their action. They needed to be even willing to go to jail for opposing the government, and they needed to be very clear in their interaction. So actually, they used a lot of force. It didn't involve like physical violence or even like verbal violence.
Original question, I was thinking, what if the sword would be interpreted as like a mental idea that cuts through bullshit? Second, I was thinking that when we put these boundaries, it's an act of self-love at the same time. So it's not necessarily bad karma to protect yourself, because you are yourself a person who needs protection. So it's like it's more complicated.
Yeah.
I forgot my third point.
But those 2 points were very important.
I've been very interested in pacifism. And in Finland, there's this organization called Aseista-kieltäytyjä liitto, which means people who just refuse to take on arms if there would be a war case and would go to jail for it all the time. And I'm thinking that is actually more brave than joining the actual war, which is heroic as this most brave thing to do.
Yeah.
It's like if they're ready to die for that, you are as ready to die for not doing that. And that in itself is even more courageous.
Yeah.
I feel like.
Yeah. From the Theosophical text, we can read that at some point of the human history, that there was a point in war, that when people fight, when people fought not for themselves, but for their families, for their nation, when they practiced bravery, that was in a way helping the human soul to grow, even though they died in the battle. there was something that the soul could learn from it. But then, yes, and Bhagavad Gita is a very good example of it. But the question is that where are we now in the progress of humanity? Maybe we have done enough wars already and there's nothing more to be learned from them.
I kept thinking during your speech about whether or not we are actually developing or not. I'm a bit of a determinist in philosophy. I feel like it is at least partially determined. And I feel like maybe what if it's just part of the human animal that we fight? Like if we're not fighting real wars, we're fighting online games. And it's something that a lot of people really need through, or we're fighting the football game. It's something very innate to us that we love.
We and them are like seeing that something is like there's always dual. That's I like those games when we are fighting against the table, or we are doing I have one of those games with me, by the way, but it's always fun to play also like werewolf for example, but a game because other people, and you're also your own nature games out. And after that, the game is over. You become a friend again, like the soul level. We are like again, like the black and white pieces go in a box, and it's all good. But it's just a play, and I guess we need and we have this survival thing in the game only in a physical world. In this higher world, like you said, there's no questions. If you remember that you are actually higher and not only there's no game in that sense.
Yep.
The game has like a point or like a significance only in this level.
Yeah.
In the material world, playing games does seem to be something for creatures with more higher developed mental faculties. Like it's not reptiles who play when they're children. It's mammals. So and both carnivorous mammals, predators, and herbivorous animals, both have their young play games with each other, and it's inherently a competitive element to it. So play is inherently something tied to violence, either like learning how to stalk and catch and kill prey, or how to compete against males, like the moose, catching their horns together. It's something that you learn as a child. And it starts innocent, but it has like a kernel of its true nature within it. So yeah, not just humans, but everywhere where there is play, there is the start of conflict.
I'm thinking, isn't it a contrast and conflict kind of needed for development of any kind?
And the mental development.
Well, yes, we see it as play, but maybe we can just drop the word play and see that creatures who have complex interactions during their existence, they start to display competitive behavior immediately. And we find it exciting because it's what we do as well.
But I think the problem comes when you cannot step out of this role, when we play and after that we are friends again. But if you're not able to, if you take this role, oh, we are this nation and this is the other nation and they're bad because they're born like, because this is totally not true. Like I guess I said, one of my brothers married this Ukrainian lady, another one Russian lady before the war, and they're both like a wonderful person, and like, how can I say, see how things are, that it's you can step out of this game that see that this is game. It's not wrong, I guess, to play it where you are in a physical form, but to understand that this is not the final truth.
Yeah, and maybe as if we use a game as a metaphor, I think the problem is that we forget that we are playing games, and we think them as a real things. And one sign of awakening is that we understand that this is only game that we are playing. That it's like an avatar that we have over here, and our true self is somewhere else.
But that too is a very difficult paradox. Because if you think too much on that side, you become passive in this world.
Yep.
And I still think it's important to try to act in this world.
Yeah.
To have that in balance.
The spirits made a lot of efforts to incarnate into low material existence full of misery. So not taking it seriously,
Yep.
it seemed to be like a wasteful.
Okay.
Maybe we can ask if Hannes has some ideas or questions.
Yes. Hannes, would you like to share? Do you have some thoughts that you would like to share with the group, or questions?
I don't really know. I'm a slow thinker.
Yeah.
Maybe I have to process it a little.
Yeah.
But it's very, very interesting discussions.
Yeah. Thank you, Hannes. Okay. We have a couple of minutes before our tea break. I have a task for you. So we have a longer discussion tomorrow, and for that I would like to give you three questions to ponder over on the coming day. So the first question is, what is my imprint on the world? What kind of what am I bringing to the world? How I'm affecting the people around me and on the planet? When am I most useful to others? And third, what is my gift to the world? And yeah, just you can write it down, and when you are finished, we will end this session with the peace mantra.
What can you repeat the third question?
What is my gift to the world? You can see it over there.
You only have one day to think about it. For life.
That's like existential crisis.
Yeah, but sometimes it's better not to give you too much time, because people like overthink as well, and then you forget to live your life. Okay, this is the peace mantra. I will say it aloud, but I will like to tell you a brief history of this mantra. So this is an English translation of a Finnish mantra that was worded about 100 years ago. By a Finnish theosophist who traveled by horse from a town to another and sold theosophical books to people around in Finland. Back then, around those times, there was a civil war here. So this mantra was worded to bring a beneficial effect to those times. So when you translate a mantra into a language that is not your own, it's always a bit difficult to find proper words and wordings to express the same thoughts. So it's not the same in English as it is in Finnish, but this is the version that we have for us today. So let's try it out, and you can take a good stance. Maybe just listen this time. May light shine into the darkness. May righteousness prevail over violence, injustice, and the grasping for personal gain. Peace to all beings. Peace to all beings in the East. Peace to all beings in the South. Peace to all beings in the West. Peace to all beings in the North. May there be peace among the peoples. May the leaders of nations have peace. Let war and strife cease. May each of us see a sibling in every person. Peace, peace, peace. Thank you. Okay, next. Okay.
What was the name of that man?
It will come to my mind. It will come to my mind. There was a group of people, maybe Frederick Helia. You know this mantra as well?
I know this mantra, and I know that oftentimes it is said at the end of the teaching so people can go in peace, because sometimes we awaken some energies, and if we here we are like try to think in a spiritual way, but if we go home and we take those energies, then sometimes it goes.
Yeah.
So this is a very beautiful to calm this down, whatever wakes up and it's not ready.
Yeah, and I also try to have well, I usually use this at the end of my morning meditation, and one of the purposes is to devote your practice for others, so that not only you benefit from it, but everyone around you would benefit from it as well. I can give you the Finnish version as well.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.